Hi, guys. I'm going to do a bit of an unconventional video today because that's what I'm in the mood for, you know? I don't know what happened. Oh, you're with me. I get it. Okay. I just need to keep going. All right. Like I said before, I want to talk to you guys about family. It's the holidays, and I know that this is like the perfect time to talk about something like that because that's what a lot of people are missing at the moment. And I think that it's important to talk about it during the holidays because some people don't have family and some people do. This week's topic for me is just how am I able to travel and do all these things and I'm without my family? I remember when I first went on tour with The Lion King, I didn't even think about it. I was so excited to leave home that I hadn't even a little bit about what it would feel like to be away from my family during the holidays. And then I was in the show, and probably about 6 or 7 months after I went on tour, my uncle passed away. And I remember I got home to my family, but I was I was struggling to get back on tour because it's very hard to leave people that are hurting, especially when you and your whole family are all crying over the same thing. And so I think it's just really important to talk about what it's like to be without your family. I mean, I've been on the road for over 20 years now. And honestly, it has not been easy. My family, they all mainly live in America and I live in London. But I just remember when I first was on tour, even just being in America and traveling all around without my family, it was easier said than done because there was a lot of things I didn't know. So I was like teaching myself how to be on the road by myself without any proper guidance from the people who I was so used to guiding me through life. Also, it's interesting it's good to know that I am the youngest of 3 children. So not only was I alone, but I was also so used to other people being there for me. So I had to be very independent and very while I was on the road, figuring it all out without the help of my family. And I did. I definitely did. But it took me a while. It was a learning process, me being out there and not having anybody. But I will start by saying that as a performer, like you're not alone. Your family are the people in the show with you. Yeah. And so you have to create your own family on the road. I think the tip number 1 for this video so far is create your own family with the people in your circle that you love. I'm really good at creating my own road family. And I remember when I first started on tour, how important it was for me to connect myself to other people. It gets really, really lonely. I think in The Lion King in particular, when you're on tour, maybe in a year, you will have gone to at least 20 cities. So you move around a lot. So it's not like you can always even have your family on the road with you because at one point, I remember when we were in Philadelphia, my sister came and she stayed with me on tour. It was a lot because then you have to micromanage taking care of your family while taking care of yourself while on tour. And then to add insult to injury, I had the audacity to bring my dog. But I needed that. I know in that moment, I actually needed that. I needed that support in that time. It was important to me to get that support at the time. Not the whole time I was on the road was my sister with me. But for most of the time when I first started, definitely she was until she couldn't be. Then she had to go home and, start to create her own family. She's my older sister. And I remember at that time, I went home and I think I was even in a relationship at that time. So you have to create an environment that is familiar to what you know when you're on the road. Because I was away from my entire family, I decided to make myself some Christmas dinner. So I made my 4 favorite things, honey baked ham, macaroni and cheese, fried cabbage, and sweet potatoes. And it just made me feel all warm inside. And I felt closer to the people that I loved in that moment. And I always try to create those kind of things as often as I can when I'm on the road. Sometimes it just gets so bad, you just call up your mama and be like, hey, mama, when you coming to see me? I'd love to see you. And then you buy her ticket and then she comes out and then you guys spend the holiday together or whatever time that she comes out. I'm really good at like flying my family to me when I'm feeling very low, when I need some family. And I'm also really good at just buying a ticket and getting my butt on a plane and going out and seeing everybody when the time is right. So it just depends on where you are with everything for you to feel like you need to do something like that. So yeah, I just feel like it's important to create that space for yourself when the space is not there and readily available. But then there's sometimes it just gets really complicated and you just can't have family with you and you just have to figure it out. But I have had some amazing people in different shows. You can tell if you fit in the sense where you're going to find people that just get you and understand you. And you can tell certain shows where this is just a job. And I don't need to make great friends here. I just need to enjoy what I'm doing and push through. And you really need to know the difference, because tip number 2, don't just make friends because you're lonely. Make friends that are good, lasting friends that will be there for you in your entire career, or the next time you do a show and they're in the show with you and they have your back and they understand. Because a lot of times at first I was getting with people or friending people in the show and they were not my people. They did not have my back. They did not understand where I was coming from, and they didn't care. And I've gotten myself in trouble in that aspect, got my little feelings hurt. And, it get a little lonely sometimes. And you meet a significant other and you're very interested in, dating someone. But really, that's not really dating. It's just kind of like, I'm lonely. And so I'm out in these streets just dating people for the fun of it. So it can get very lonely on the road. But I can honestly say, like, when I was in my next show, Dreamgirls, I've made some lifelong friends. One of my best friends I met in one of the Dreamgirls shows that I did, versions. I say one of the Dreamgirls shows because I did a couple different versions of the same show. And I mean, literally, I still talk to her to this day. She's now a part of my forever family. And so it's really easy to get lonely, but it's also easy to find like some people who will be there for you forever. That will never stop. Now get with your blue drawers. I am so sure you guys are wondering why I had to switch it up on you. Because ain't that what family do? Family will switch it up on you. Let me throw in some curveball family moments though, because I feel like my other videos are about to make this just like a sappy, syrupy, honey dripped happiness and harmony family thing. And that's not the truth, because I have struggled on both extremes with my family. I've drawn so close to them, and I have also pulled myself completely out of the family loop. It's just really hard because I feel like my family is like muggles. And I am like giving a magician in the wizardry world, because sometimes they just don't understand. They really don't quite get why you are in the position you're in, and also why you're going about life so much different than everybody else. For one, as people are coming home from work, I am like getting ready to go out the house and go somewhere. I'm getting ready to work. So everything about what I do is literally like the opposite of everybody who I'm used to being related to. And I know that when I was younger, because I've always kind of been a performer, as you know, from my last video, I was in show choir a lot. I used to do vocal competitions all through high school, trying to win scholarship money for school. And so I always had to live my life a little differently than most people. I was one of those kids that was at school until 10 or 11 o'clock at night, because I was either in repertory theater or show choir or singing with Circle the State. Always something I was a part of that had to do with music and performing. So everything was just on a different planet. I just remember growing up. Luckily, my mom, she was pretty hip to understanding how these things work and how the schedule is very different. I cannot tell you how many family trips or family reunions or anything that I missed because I was at somebody's competition singing for somebody. I'm on Mars and everybody else is on Earth when it comes to like going about life. And so there is a way for you to actually train your family to kind of better understand you as an artist. Don't be afraid to be very vocal with your family on the things that you need as a performer. I was just calling one of my best friends the other day, and sometimes her family likes to treat her like a workhorse. And so anytime there's a family event, she's usually working, because on people's holidays, that's when we work the most as performers. So when she came home the other day, mama was like, hey, could you get in the kitchen and do this? And then she was like, no, I'm going to go upstairs and go to sleep because I have 2 shows tomorrow. But don't be afraid to be very vocal about the things that you need that most people wouldn't normally need, like sleep during the day. Tip number 3, don't be afraid to train your family. Sometimes it is detrimental for your survival in the contract you're in to train them. And when I say train them, I basically mean like take patience in knowing that there's a lot of things about what you do that they have no earthly clue. They wouldn't know what a tech rehearsal is if it was taught to them in kindergarten. They would not understand what that means because they don't know what a 10 out of 12 is. They don't understand the lingo. So you have to bring them into that. You can't make the assumption that they just know. They don't. They have no clue what that is. They have no idea that a 10 out of 12 means you were probably on your feet at work, standing up under very hot lights with ridiculous costumes on and crazy makeup for about 10 hours in one day. And you had to turn around, get like 7 hours of sleep, and then turn right around and do it again at 10 in the morning the next day. They didn't know. They had no clue. And so the only way they're going to understand how your life works, how your world works, how it all works together is if you train them. Yeah. My family is 100% trained for what I do. They get it. If it's Monday and I don't feel like talking, they understand. If I'm about to go on stage, I can literally hang up on my mama and she will completely understand where I'm coming from. If I say I'll call you later, but really I was signing autographs or I was talking to backstage with some of my friends or the show stopped and then we had an extra 20 minutes tapped on the end of it. She understands all of that, but that's because she made herself aware of that. She made herself knowledgeable of the things that I needed as a performer, as she was raising a performer. And because I do it professionally, like now she just gets really used to it. When she comes to visit me, she is up on game. Like she gets it. She totally understands how to prepare herself for a Moya day. And that leads me to my other thing is like the enormous support that I have gotten from my family over the years because I'm all over the world. Of course, the good thing about it is, if I'm doing a gig in Hawaii, they're right there with me. But I just remember specifically my example of the enormous support that I got from my family was when I did America's Got Talent. My family band together like nothing I had ever seen to support me through that whole process. The reason why it was so complicated, because number one, I was in LA. My family is not in LA. They're in Indiana at the time. And so a lot of my backstory was, a family oriented teacher who moved to Vegas to teach some kids in a program. And it was just really important to see during that process, who were the people that helped me get to where I'm at now. And I feel like if it wasn't for their love and support, there's zero way I was going to get through that process. I remember my sister at the time, she came, she was in between jobs at the time. And she was like, Moya, whatever you need, I will be your PA. She stopped taking care of her own family sometimes. And she would be with me morning, noon, and night, taking care of me, sleeping, made sure I had everything I need. They had all of these like requirements as far as like how I was supposed to look, how I needed to dress. She would go out shopping at the last minute, get the things that they asked for, run any errand that I need. That is the kind of support that is unmatched. I legitimately wouldn't be this Moya who lived in London without that kind of support, without the love of my family, my father included. That man flew all the way to California, got on film, y'all. They had Robert Campbell on film at America's Got Talent doing God knows what in some random park. And it's that kind of support and love that I can't say that everybody has. So the reason why this topic is just so important to me is because I cannot sit here and lie and act like they have not been there for me in that way. I remember there were times even when I was in school when my mom and dad would drive hours and hours to help me move in. That kind of support, listen, unmatched. You hear me? So that is the kind of support from the family that I mean. And it also helps when they totally understand where you're coming from and when they totally get why you're going after things the way that you're going after them and why it's important for you to have that love and support. Because being a performer, listen, Forbes said about 5 or 6 years ago that acting, being an actress, being a performer is literally the number one hardest job ever. Actual Forbes said that. And there's no lie told. It's not for the faint of heart. It takes a very particular type of person. And let me tell you, sometimes it is very impossible to do it without the support. All right. So we're talking about family right now. And like Today is New Year's Eve, and I'm on my way away from my immediate family to go work. It's the way life is. Like, you have to keep it moving. You can't always be with your family. I miss my mommy lately, and there's not much I can do about it but call her on the phone or go visit her when I have the holiday time. Because that's the other thing. Like, time doesn't always permit you to go and visit your family. Sometimes you're deep in work and you just can't get away, especially doing what I do. I can't tell you how many funerals I've missed because I was away from my family and because I wasn't able to get to them like I would have loved to. But that's just how this business is. It's like you have to choose this business over everything sometimes. And it doesn't feel good to know that sometimes I have to choose work over my child. It feels actually very bad, but that's the life I live. But you know what? I'm also finding that when I get into these shows, sometimes you show up to a theater and you start a show and you meet all of these amazing people. There's like this excitement when you first get into a show, when you meet people. Everybody's on the same page of excited to be here. We all working and we are happy to be here. You have to make sure that you find your people amongst that. Even if it's just one friend that you have that has your back, that you have their back. You always have to seek that person out. And I want to keep talking about this. They're not family, but they are the non-family family, because I can honestly say that even over my family, because my family can't be everywhere with me. They can't be in every show, under every contract, in every country, in every city with me. It's impossible. So sometimes having someone who gets you to the point where like they're doing the exact same things you are, so they're feeling the same things that you're feeling. Having someone like that is something that I have created over the years. It's taken a while because trust and believe, I have turned and opened the wrong door and been friends with the absolute wrong people who are more envious than they are excited for you. And sometimes it takes quite a few events and circumstances for you to really see the haterism. You understand? Because I always lead with 100% trust. That's just kind of the kind of person I am. I lead with 100% trust. And then as things happen, I'll start chipping that trust meter on down. I think it is really important for us to always remember that everybody is not your friend and that you can't be cool with everybody. And that sometimes it is like the coolest relationship that you've ever been a part of at first. But you have to still be looking out for them red flags because they will show themselves. Trust me. And then when you're out on the road by yourself and you don't have anybody to turn to, sometimes you miss it. Tip number 4, make sure you look out for them red flags because it's hard out here. And sometimes we have a hard time differentiating support with haterade. You understand? But it's out there. And I can't tell you how many times I have like loved on people and trusted in their craft and trusted in the love that they have for me, only for it to like literally like bird poo all over my face. So as I'm getting older, I'm trying to keep my eye open a lot more for those kind of people when they come my way. Because when you are lonely, it is so much harder to see it coming. It's way harder to see it coming when you're lonely. When you got everything going for you, you got all these friends and everything's working perfectly, it's so much easier for you to spot the fake ones. But when you're lonely, it's not always that easy. And so you have to be very careful, especially when you're on the road, especially when you're out in these streets by yourself all over the world. Everyone is not your friend. Find your people, stick with them, support them like they support you, and that love will be returned. Yeah. But there's also the times when you think everything is going great and you think that even your family has your back. Like, I will give you another example from AG. One of the reasons why I did not get as far as I would have liked to have gotten in that process was because at the end of the process, when all was said and done, and I was talking to family and friends about the whole thing, I don't know if you've never seen AGT, you have to vote. And in order to vote back in the day, you had to pick up the phone and actually call. It was like American Idol. You had to call a specific phone number and put in a certain code based on the certain contestant that you were voting for. And I just remember one time I called one of my family members and I was like, oh my gosh, it was just such a crazy time. I'm glad it's over. But you know what? The love and support that you guys gave me and when you voted for me, it meant the world to me. And then they'd be like, oh, I didn't vote. So I'm confused. How was I going to get to the next round if you didn't vote for me? And who else going to vote for me if you, my family, who says they're my number one fan don't vote for me. Then there's that. There is the extreme lack of support that you actually thought, oh, everybody did their thing. And so you just didn't make it because it just wasn't enough. But then you realize that your biggest supporters didn't even pick up the phone to even try to vote. And they weren't even helping you get to that next level. Listen, that is when I start checking people off the list and removing them from the support list. You understand? That's when I start realizing that we're family, but we're not friends. Tip number 5, just because they're your family does not mean they're your friends. That is a word from the Lord that I have had to learn in the hardest way. I have fallen out with my family quite a few times over my career. Not intentionally, but because it just didn't work out. And I don't feel bad about it because the truth of the matter is that like I feel healthier and happier for pushing the people that aren't speaking to my soul out. I know you can't choose family, but I can choose not to deal with you. And I think that as you get older, you realize how important it is to protect your peace. Tip number 6, protect your peace. It is detrimental in this world today to protect your peace. I have had moments in my life where I did not protect my peace because I'm a giver. I give people my all, just like I give the stage my all. I used to give people my all, but then I had to be weary of my heart and protect it a lot more than I used to put in some steps to make sure that I was protected. And now that I am a mother, it's stronger because I have to protect my peace, including my baby's peace. Her peace is detrimental to me as well. And it can become toxic. There is some family that is very toxic and they're takey. They're takey kind of people. You know what I'm talking about. The kind of family that like, instead of giving so much, they're needy and they take. So anytime you're in town, they take from your mental health bank. Yeah. Or they take from your pocket, and it just doesn't feel comfortable because then it feels like that's the only reason why they want you around, because of what you're giving. And I feel like as someone who gives every day on stage, I can't give that at all times. I need to receive too, because I need to fill it up. I have to fill up my battery. I have to fill up my social battery. You go on stage every day, you're performing for thousands of people. You have to fill that cup back up. It is not easy to just give it all away and then just keep moving. You're moving on reserves. When you don't fill up your mental health cup, your spirituality cup, your everything cup from your family and your friends who are draining you, who feel very toxic to your energy, you have to be careful, because that is the quickest way for you to go into an extreme burnout as a performer. And you already have to give that energy when you're on stage. When you're off stage, you shouldn't be required to give that too. I'll give you a prime example. Mama, I love you, but I'm going to do it. Every time I come home from singing, I don't want to sing at church. I love the Lord just like you, but I don't want to have to sing at the church every time I come home and I'm a singer. I don't want to. Also, sometimes I don't feel like ministering. I just want to be ministered to at that point, and I don't have to give out my last reserve. Thank Jesus. Mama, please don't hate me. But I can't stand it. It bothers me. Now, if I feel so led, if the Spirit is leading me and the ministry is sitting perfectly in my soul, I don't mind sharing a song or two. Or if y'all gonna pass the offering plate round the room and give me the donations of Jesus, I have no problems. No problems at all. But that's not usually what happens at the Black church. The Black church wants a coupon vocal. You understand? And I don't got them coupon vocals when I'm over here making thousands and thousands of dollars and pounds on these vocals. Why would Jesus not have a quarter or two for me? Fill up your cup. So, speaking of filling up your cup, it leaves me with a last point that I got lucky and I'm blessed. Moving to London, I will tell you something. I've always been a determined woman to find my lifelong partner. And I'm in a space right now where I feel like I have found that person. Sometimes with all the things that I've said, people are not doing what I do with all of their family members. They didn't get in a show and find their best friend in that show. They're out here alone doing this whole thing. They don't have anybody to lean on. I'm grateful enough to know I found someone amazing. So now I'm at a step, I've created my own family, and I'm at the point where I'm creating something that I don't always have around me. So I don't live in the same country as my mom. So having my baby, I didn't have the support like that. I had to go back to work when my baby was 3 to 5 months old because I am her financial provider. So I wasn't privy enough to just like hand my baby to my mom and go on about my business. I started dating when she was like 1 years old so that I could try to find someone to spend the rest of my life with. And my dreams for me was to create my own family so that I have a legacy. And what's the point in doing all of this if I don't have someone to do it for eventually and to share it with? I got to a point where I just was so sick of seeing the world and going all these cool places and having no one to share it with. So at a ripe old age of none of your business, I have found a beautiful person who loves me, who supports me, and who I'm creating a family with so that I will always have that support in house. It's been so long that I've traveled the world and done things on my own that I am so happy and grateful that now I'm in a position where I get to be loved on the way that I'm sharing the love with other people on stage and doing what I do and doing what I love to do. To the point where I'm also, part of me doing this page is because I'm readjusting my life to create these opportunities for myself where I can be artistic in all the ways that I couldn't do when I was all by myself. And I couldn't do even as a new mommy with Ellie by myself. So it's a beautiful thing to me. It's been so hard for me not to say her name. Her name Ellie. Anyway, I've been saying baby the whole time, but yeah, I'm so grateful that God brought someone in my life. And that also meant that I brought somebody in Ellie's life. And I'm just happy about it. And it feels good because now I have that in-house personal one-on-one catered to me support that I've kind of always dreamed of. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to keep it healthy and happy and nice, just like my career. So I say all of these things to say that family is important. And sometimes we don't have family that we were born with. Sometimes we get in a show and we have to create a family who loves us and people who take care of us. And I've had to do that for so many years. But now I'm in a position where like someone actually truly loves me for who I am, and it's creating these moments for me to be able to get in front of this camera and express to you and talk to you guys about these special people in my life. I try really hard not to name any names and call anybody out. But when it's all said and done, I love my family, and they're the reason why I'm here today. My parents have put so much work into me, and I'm just so grateful. I'm very grateful that from what they have given to me and taught me, that I'm here able to pour that back out to you guys. And I hope you guys understand and appreciate it. Try not to cry. I love you. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.